And we are back. And we are back with game 2 of Team Solo Feed versus Chase Squad. I'm still Sean Minbung Shannon.
And I'm Nolan, Django, and Jane McCoy.
So, picking bands coming out right now for Chase Squad. They're banning out that Cho'Gath. It obviously was something that they still respect and notified as, hey, that was pretty much a problem last game. Let's not let them have it again. Same two bans so far on the side of Team Solo Feed, and then the Thresh ban coming out against Baba Booey. Um, I didn't really see the pick and ban phase because here at PMA LCS we do it in the pregame lobby like you used to in like season 2 and 3 for customs, just because everyone doesn't own all the champions. And the Kog'Maw ban coming out, so they're addressing our two MVP candidates from last game as being, hey, I don't want to see that guy in my lane again. It's gonna be interesting to see what Chase Squad prioritizes because they went for the late scaling team fight comp last time. Just never got to it. As they still are going to prioritize the Galio. Now, I believe you and me talked during the break about probably wanting to see that more mid lane. How it's still stronger mid lane than it is top, just because of the matchups that it has. But it's still a flex pick nonetheless. Nonetheless.
Right. I personally think just right now, Galio, Tank Galio mid works better than Galio top. Um, Especially with his ultimate, he's able to go to either lane, and mid laners are squishy in general. So
Yeah.
he has better trading there than going against a tank top. If he goes tank top, he essentially has the perfect farm and pretty much disengage all the time. Because I found that just tank Galio top is just it's a losing matchup.
Definitely agree in the sense of it's probably better mid lane. As we see, the Malachi Sejuani for the top lane, so a huge front line already for the side of Team Solo Feed. With Sivan on his comfort pick or pocket pick, Diana in the mid lane, as Lucian is coming out in the mid lane in response. So a more carry-oriented early game laner for Hanzu probably fits his style a whole lot more as Guy Fieri is going to go for the Zac, who had some recent nerfs in a patch or two ago, but is still one of the top jungle champions in the game right now. As we see Ari, Kalista band on the side of Team Solo Feed, uh, Allergic to Milk is actually replacing Piper as Isis for this game. I believe he finally got back, so the sub is no longer needed. So now it's the entire Chase Squad lineup just in different roles that as we talked about in game one, with their jungler going mid, their top laner going jungle, and their mid laner going top, if I'm not mistaken. Xanakis used to be their mid laner, correct? Or was
For which team?
for a Chase Squad?
I I'm not sure. They've done so much moving around that
Yeah,
it's confusing. Because I know at one point Guy Fieri was mid lane, Elicita was jungle.
yeah. And
Um,
the Vayne pickup for Allergic to Milk. Okay, so I did joke about it with all the roster swaps what we're talking about and people playing different roles, but the Vayne pick is typical Piglet when faced against an elimination game. So they really are embracing the TL meme that I have just created. Copyright and patent that right now. Screw everyone else who tries to take it without giving me credit. As Allergic to Milk locks in the Vayne and the Braum in the bot lane, as Baba Booey is just doing everything he can to not let anybody know who he's taking. Oh, it's going to be the Aatrox. It's got to be the Aatrox. And he locks in Alistar. So, overall, team comp wise, immediately what stands out to me is the lack of range on the side of Chase Squad. They're going to want to have a lot of skirmishes with the Vayne and the Lucian. And Zac's a really good skirmishing jungler with the Galio ulting in to try to get some taunts on some people. But this squad from Team Solo Feed is a massive squad, a huge hyper late scaling game carries in the bot lane and the mid lane, and just 2.5 is what I'm going to call Alistar massive tanks that eventually by the late game are going to be almost unkillable as long as the Vayne doesn't just free firing on the back line.
Right. I think this is going to be a scary game for Chase Squad, especially with the Diana, because if they want to attack Diana, they have to get within her dash range.
Yeah, you're going to
And
probably try to look for Hanzu to try to do something early in the game, which is why he's taking this exhaust as we're into the spectator delay now. But to your point, as you were saying, and you can continue on, it's going to be a very scary game for Chase Squad, as you were saying.
I know we had talked earlier about Galio being played mid, and I really would have rather seen that. Just with you seeing the Diana, flex the Galio, move it mid, and send Lucian top. Uh, Lucian can bully the Maokai around. The Maokai can trade a bit, gain some health back, but I think it's a more favorable advantage Lucian into Maokai than Lucian into Diana.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree with you here, especially for the fact that unless in hindsight we'll be able to tell if it's a good move or not, because if Lucian does not get a lead off this Diana, going even probably does not favor Chase Squad in any lane except for maybe bot. Galio can provide a lot, but we didn't see him ult at all last time. I believe it was very much reminiscent of the Jensen not ulting a whole game on Zed, but Galio has like a halfway global ultimate. He doesn't have to be right next to him to use it. So I'm hoping that they talked about that during the break. Hey, we need you to roam and apply pressure for every other lane because we need you to help us out. And it's going to be on, I believe, again, Guy Fieri and Xanakis to make some plays if for some reason Hansu can't make his own advantage in the mid lane.
Right. I mean, just any sort of pressure from the jungle or from the top lane to mid lane. If if Galio decides to try and do a shove and roam, we'll just. I think that's Chase Squad's best option.
As do I. And I'll tell you this: this is I know it's a comfort pick for Sivan, but on the side of Team Solo Feed, this is extremely disrespectful to choose, in my opinion, two low mobility, easy to gank champions in the mid lane. And if Chase Squad can't punish this, they really need to go back to the drawing board and decide, okay, how do we play games against teams who have champions with low escape or no escape abilities in the solo lanes? Um, and how do we prioritize? How do we get our leads here as we are loading into the game right now? I'm just going to throw it to you real quick. Chase Squad didn't take the first one, but do you think they have any chance of taking this one just looking at it right now?
Um, Hopefully they were able to regroup after that last game. They just kind of got washed out. Hopefully they're able to come into this game fresh look. Hopefully tilt is gone. Uh, if they can get ahead early, they can carry this. But it's going to be if they go even, I'm giving it to Team Solo Feed.
Yeah, and I like the Vayne pick in sense that if she has enough peel, which can be provided by her 3 or 2.5 tankish line right there, I'm just really worried about the range. Not that Team Solo Feed has much of a range advantage, except for Jirachi's just a little bit longer, I believe, on the auto attack range. But for the most part, they're all pretty close as well. So there's going to be a lot of skirmishes, which I do believe favors the team that gets ahead, which I feel like can be and needs to be Chase Squad in this instance. Um, because Vayne's like your late game insurance policy, but there's so many different ways that people can get on top of her from the side of Team Solo Feed, the Malachi route, Diana using her R and then her E to pull her back in. Baba Booey flash, flash headbutt pulverize. Sejuani ult, just getting in there, and it's really really tanky. You're gonna have to. Allergic to Milk is going to treat every single player of Team Solo Feed like they're a dairy product and get them the heck away from him, or he'll just die. I mean that's as it is. There's goat cheese, there's Gouda cheese, uh, but no cheese coming out from either team right now, as it's just standard starts. With Lucian gonna give Zach a little leash onto the Raptors right there, uh, and we're in right here for standard starts. And I don't know the stats, and I could ask Rich after we're done with this, but I think the win rate of Sejuani is abnormally high in PMA LCS. Seems like every
It
team who
it is. I'm pretty sure it's over 75%.
yeah, and I'll say the great thing that we haven't really talked about is the synergy between both solo lanes with being able to proc her passive for her since they're both melee champions, especially the Diana, especially trying to get onto that Lucian right there. As he goes in for a little bit of a trade, Sivan leveling up the W second most likely is very, very smart to try to mitigate some of those trades. He has gone um, Ignite mid lane to have kill pressure, but Elucida Hanzu taking the exhaust in the mid lane. Most likely for the Diana, but could be used on any ganking jungler as well, possibly. And having two exhaust in the late game or mid game team fights is pretty big for trying to take these skirmish advantages. Trade goes down the mid lane. Lucida gets a nice double tap right there. Is poking Sivanat and has a CS lead. This is something that we really wanted to see, especially as Jirachi is barely gaining a CS lead. But if Allergic to Milk lands all these, I think they're just going to be pretty much even. As Xanagus still trading with Garfield, as he always has been, as Sejuani Bounty looking mid lane onto Lucian right here for a possible gank opportunity. Just sitting there wasting quite a bit of time as Guy Fieri is finally going to pick up his red buff, I believe. Uh, all around, just pretty standard lanes right here. You can already tell though the synergy is definitely better between Allergic to Milk and
Oh, Guy Fieri pops his passive. He might die to red buff.
um,
That's really unfortunate considering red buff had
one.
1 HP.
Um,
That's going to set him way back.
Broken Shard? Is that you? Oh, I haven't even switched the overlay. My God. Uh, and there we go. So everyone's been watching for the past 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Black screen. So
Oh, wonderful.
welcome back to joining us. If you didn't just know, Eric pulled Broken Shard, which is dying to your red buff in your own jungle. So there's now a 500 gold lead for Team Solo Feed. As they're focusing onto the Alistar, which I do not believe is the correct choice in this lane. Once his combo's down, as Elucida's probably going to get... He has to burn his flash as the stun was about to proc for Bounty. Unfortunate for him that he had to use a summoner. Guy Fieri going back to fight that dreaded red buff. Let's make sure. Let's see how it happens. Does he have smite up? No, he doesn't have smite up. He doesn't have his passive up either. He's okay. No, we need to make sure that Eric. I mean, I have to look at Eric this entire time.
I don't. He needs to make sure he's grabbing his gloves.
Yep. There is a gank mid lane. Bounty takes a tower shot. Lucida finally gets it, and Guy Fieri he gets the red buff. Ooh. The crowd goes wild. Everybody in Twitch chat, the 5 people who are watching, goes crazy. And we're back to normal casting. So, as it turns out, there's still only a 400 gold lead. slight CS advantage in the mid lane for Chase Squad, but across the map, in the bot lane, it's a almost 10 CS lead, if not more, from the stacks that Alistar's been able to get for Jirachi right here. And in the jungle, even though he died, he's only about 200 gold down, which in the early game is pretty massive, but, it could have been worse. Let's just put it that way. As they see Bounty topside, probably showed just a little bit too early when Galio went to go ward. As they're trying to force this right now, Garfield Juice using his ultimate, going to be able to land some of the stacks. Bounty going in with the Q. Zanika flashing respectfully. I don't know if he needed to burn the flash. I believe he still had his taunt up. He could have taken less damage. But he's starting to push as he knows Sejuani's in that bush. He couldn't have just left. He gets the stun down, going to get the taunt off. Here comes Guy Fieri flying in level 4. It gets both of them. Double flash, misses the E right there. Zanuck is trying to make his way out. If he uses E, he may die. Here comes Hansu. First blood for the Garfield Juice in the top lane. Elucida gets it out. He might be able to turn this around with Guy Fieri, but the red buff is on. Oh no, there is no red buff is on Guy Fieri. As Diana comes around, looping around, clearing the pink ward. Guy Fieri, that may cost you your life. If Diana does have flash and ignite, Hansu gets away. Guy Fieri, if he was not level 4, I feel like he probably would have had his ult. Sivan gonna go in, try to flash it, uses his ignite from... Oh, and he gets the return kill onto Elucida right there for him, right there. Overall, I think a worth trade for Team Chase Squad right there, who is behind right here. Get some gold onto this Zac, who just hit 5 after that death, but also if he had his passive up, that could have been a huge turnaround for them to where it could have been a 2-for-1 as opposed to a 2-for-2.
Something I want to mention when Zac was fighting the Maokai, trying to peel for Elucida on Lucian, Garfield Juice dropped a pink ward, and so Guy Fieri did his, I don't know,
His Q, yeah, stretching strike.
Stretch Armstrong, and
yeah.
he tagged Maokai, and then he hit the ward, pointing together, allowing Elucida to get some space between them.
Yeah, and that's definitely a smart play of using the pink ward to your own advantage, as we do see 6-man bot, 3 the junglers on both sides are down there. Saw the Braum have to use his unbreakable will, but he positioned it the wrong way for the ultimate of Jirachi, who burned the flash of Allergic Milk and the heal, as Garfield Juice is just going to town. As there's a ward right there, Hansu going to have to get his interrupted, and goes in, and the kill going over to Sivan. This is what we were worried about. Ult coming out from Bounty. Guy Fieri does have his passive back up just now. Still not level 6 though, not able to do it, and a little bit of, I guess you could say, greedy pathing from the side of Chase Squad. Flash having to be burned by Braum right there, not wanting to risk getting engaged upon right there. And it comes back to trying to press the lead. You're going to get that, and it's just hard for them to press the lead when your jungler does die to red buff early like that. I want to say you can't blame him, but if you're going to play this champion, you have to know how to jungle effectively, especially on your first clear, and manage your health bar, or when you want to use your smite. So it's just a slight overlook on the side of Chase Squad with their Zac pick right there, who's kind of, I wouldn't say he's the reason they're behind, but he's definitely a reason why they haven't been able to take as much advantage as they possibly could in the early game. As Garfield Juice is just smacking away at Galio, and Galio just wanted the farm. He says, I don't care. He goes there, keeps on going, uses his E. Garfield's taking some tower shots, but perfectly fine. He's going to be going away. Overall, just some trading back and forth. Galio never felt at any time that he was in danger for some reason, even though his flash is down and Maokai is ahead of him by only 2 CS at this point. Okay, so if I may, this is a personal thing. This has nothing to do with my casting, but I, as a if Piper casting can talk about his hatred for Zillion, as he did last night, during.
Oh, he goes down again to red buff.
Oh man, that's a tilter. So and he had smite up. If did he not? Can you go back and check
Yeah,
and
I'll
see?
check that.
As Sivan just destroys Hanzu in the mid lane. As Galio does get the Scuttle Crab, but it may cost him his life as he has no mid laner on this side to help him out, or his jungler on this side who's going to go try to get the red buff again, and no one to ult to. And this is probably going to be a dead Galio. Garfield Juice gets the kill, 2 to 5 in kills with a 2.6k gold lead on the side of Team Solo Feed.
So I went back.
Yeah.
His smite was not up. It was about to come up, but he just did not do a good job of kiting out the red buff.
Yeah. Well, unfortunate series of events, and no, I'm not talking about the book series right there. As the first tower did go down mid lane, as Sivan gets initiated on by the Zac. The exhaust comes out. Will they be able to do anything? No. Lucida has to flash the Sejuani ult, and he's down. The TP comes out from Maokai with the Righteous Glory already, rushing that item again, just like he did on the Cho'Gath. Different champions, same rush. And it's a 4,000 gold lead now for Team Solo Feed, who are snowballing their comp even harder, I would say, than they did last game. But more so with a team comp that they need to snowball with the Diana. She can hit late game power spikes, but you'd rather have her ahead to where some of these tanks can't just CC her and then allow her the carries of Chase Squad to take her out. This is, like we said, going to be a really scary game for Chase Squad, and it's just getting harder and harder to watch. Unfortunately, Eric has died twice to red buff. It's 66% of all of the deaths he's had in the entire game. They're just gonna have to probably find something to fight around, like maybe this Drake right here, as Braum does not see the Diana right there. Galio using his ult for the first time comes in. This could be the fight that they want. Gets the taunt onto the Diana as Jirachi uses his ultimate, takes down Sivan right there. Pulverize, headback back on the Galio. Even though it's a 4 versus 3 in the bot lane, Chase Squad not coming ahead. Team Solo Feed getting the kill as Maokai is just split pushing in the top with Vayne pigleting in the mid lane, trying to get some farm for the mid lane. Probably going to get hit up by Bounty, who can't really do anything, just going to get kited out, normally just telling her to get off my friend's tower. Flash, smack the ground in disgrace by Baba Booey, as his teammates troll him with the question mark pings. All in good fun. Here comes Zac. Does he have the... No, he's... Oh my god, Diana just evaporates the Lucian right there. Zac goes in, misses. He hits his stretching strike. Headbutt, but no pulverize right there. Jirachi takes one tower shot, and it's 1 kill, or 2 kills on the side of Chase Squad and Garfield Juice with the bounty. 2 tanks taking down the 80 carry. Hashtag tank meta. Coming down is Braum's just going to get tower dove by Sivan right here. Gets the ignite off, one more attack. Sivan is unstoppable. This is looking really rough. It's only 15 minutes into the game right now, and they are 8,000 gold down. And the Herald was just released by Bounty in the mid lane. Probably not going to be able to take that tower as he goes to try to take this Drake while it's happening, which I love the use of Herald to try to secure other objectives on the map because the team can't respond. As bot lane tower is going to be taken down, Guy Fury goes in without
I
the rest of his team again.
I don't agree with that call at all. I mean, he just didn't have anybody to follow with him,
yeah,
and
he's behind. And we saw him do this last game with his Malachi pick as well. He was going in with no follow-up available on the team. Zanuck is following in the footsteps of his jungler, going one by one. The Vayne is finally here. Ults to get away. Garfield Juice is just gonna go through the exhaust and get him. And this is looking like a whitewash for Team Solo Feed right here. Unfortunately, that's a 3 for 0 with the bot lane tier 2 going down for Team Solo Feed. They're at a 10.5k gold lead at 16 minutes. This is ugly for Team Solo Feed. There's no other for Chase Squad. Excuse me. There's no other way to put it. Well, back to my point I was trying to make earlier before we had our second broken shard moment of the game. As Guy Fieri tries to look for another engage. As the tower goes down, he gets the ultimate onto 4 people. Nice ultimate, but there's no damage to follow him. He gets his Zac passive off. Galio is in the back line trying to tank all the rest of them. Uses his ult, can't do it. Zac gets his passive back just to flash away before the Sejuani ult misses and whiffs, doing his best in X-Smithy impression. Apparently we have TL versus Immortals right here. So all said and done, 1 kill on the side of Chase Squad, still gaining advantages even when, one kill on the side of Team Solo Feed, even when Chase Squad's the one deciding when to fight, albeit at questionable times. Outside of the 2 kills, this is almost nearly a perfect game for Team Solo Feed.
you know, it just looks like there's just a lot of miscommunication going on. I think once this game is done, they really need to just kind of regroup and figure out who is going to be the shot calling, because it seems like there may be some confliction going with Eric, Guy Fieri, and Xankis Musicus, because they're both engaged champions, but their team's not there with them.
Yeah,
It's just,
I mean, you and I can conjecture for sure. Now, again, as casters, we don't know exactly what's going on, but there does seem to be a lot of different types of communication, whether it's shot calling or whether it's just people not communicating in general, if there is any shot calling going on. Um, but to your point, like you're saying, everyone's going, here comes Zac going in, trying to get a stretching strike. He has no passive right now, and he just gets rid of Jirachi. Is on a killing spree. He's just been silently at a 3-0 and 4 right now, with his mid laner and top laner just taking most of the games right here. But I mean, at some point, I believe in any solo queue game, you would have probably already asked to forfeit by now. Uh, as Sivan just dives under the tower, Jirachi scumbag kill stills says, I did all of that work, that was all me. Galio gonna probably try to get a 4-man taunt underneath, but nope. Allergic to milk dies to Sivan. Zac takes them all back as Jirachi's now tanking up the tower. Garfield Juice gets the kill with his Bramble Smash. And just a massive amount of damage. Sivan gets a double kill in the back. The death timers aren't long enough, but they probably, with how far ahead they are right now at 16,000 gold at 20 minutes, they could try to push to end. They don't have many summoners, but looks like they're going to go for it. I don't think Hansu wants anything to do with this. I believe anyone on the side of Chase Squad is just wanting to get out. or they're just waiting to have one last team fight right here. Sivan goes in, barely misses. Guy Fieri misses the elastic slingshot, gets the stun down onto Garfield Juice. They're re-engaging, gets a three-man taunt going in right there. Allergic to Milk is on the backline, but has no appeal. Gets exhausted, gets held by Pulverized. Diana takes the kill. Zach loading the elastic slingshot one more time, cancels it, and I think they're just kind of let it happen as Hanzu tries to go in on the Diana, gets some kills right there. Jirachi gets the kill on the Lucian. There is the elastic slingshot that lands. Jirachi's just kiting everybody away in this fight. Too much CC, too much gold lead, too much team solo feed. GG 2-0. Uh, very, very rough game for Chase Squad overall, unfortunately, as Team Solo Feed comes away with the 2-0. Um, if I can, I just want to try to finish my point before we go to the MVP talk because I believe that will be an interesting one to have for this game. Again, it will be between their two solo laners if I want to spoil some for anybody watching. But the problems with Chase Squad that I see is if, as I was saying before, if Piper is ISIS can talk about how much he hates the Zillion pick that happened last night just because he hates the champion. I hate when people choose Vayne. Not because I don't think she's a good pick against tanks. I just think she takes too long to scale. You give up lane priority when you have Vayne, and if you don't have your jungler prioritize helping you stay afloat bot lane, which it was unfortunate that Eric couldn't because of his early deaths to the jungle camps. You see him being the lowest level next to Braum. After all said and done, he only has 900 gold more than the support on his team. Nobody on the side of Chase Squad has more than 6,000 gold, with the closest one being that Vayne. But 6,000 gold on Vayne, as you can see, only gets you a static shiv, boots, and a pickaxe, and that's just not going to cut it. So, a little bit of questionable draft. You talked about the Galio being top as opposed to the Lucian, who was trying to get some early pressure, but then also the Vayne just kind of giving up the lane. Uh, so that's just something I wanted to point out. But if we look at these damage charts, which everyone loves to see, because damage obviously says who won the game, right? Well, for this one, that'll be true. Jirachi doing 18,000 damage, but then Diana coming out with 23,500 damage. Pretty one-sided game. There's not really much to talk about in terms of macro, but if you'd have to give an MVP out for this one, who would you give it out for?
I've got to give it to Sivan on the Diana. He took advantage of Diana's level 6 and was able to start scaling appropriately, and then just snowball the other lanes.
Yeah, I feel like it's really, really hard. I mean, like, if you look at KDA score, Sivan and Bounty are the only two to have died on their team. So if you're gonna put a mark against them on there, you can. But Sivan, like you said, he did have that huge advantage that he kind of created for himself against Elicita, kind of like he did last time, but more so through his own play as opposed to the misplay of his lane opponent this time. Garfield doing work again on the Malachi. Zanika is kind of playing disrespectfully after the gank that happened. There was some, and to the credit of those two, not to discredit the two deaths that they had, but they were only the two deaths that they had, which was in that jungle fight and the tower dive top lane. So without them doing that, it's a perfect game on the side of Team Solo Feed. I'm also going to give it to Sivan for that. I feel like you can make a case for just about everybody. Unfortunately, I don't, except for Jirachi, not because he didn't play well, just because that side of the map really didn't see much action. They were doing fantastic in lane again, but as I stated before, it's against Vayne. You should have a CS lead against Vayne without any jungle attention right there. So our game 1 MVP, for those who didn't know, was Sivan on the Kog'Maw. And as I'm going to wrap up this one because I feel like it's pretty obvious who's going to get this one on this one. Wow, we got one vote for Baba Booey on the Alistar. And wow, just one vote difference from Malachi and Diana, but Sivan takes both game one and game two MVPs. Okay, two votes now, as I've just closed the poll. Let's try to get Sivan in here. If you can go grab him and just bring him into the miscellaneous channel. I think he's in normal team alpha. Hey Sivan,
Yo, what's up?
can you come down to miscellaneous?
Oh yeah, yeah. What's up?
Hey, and we're welcoming our game one and game two MVP. Uh, uh, but feel I didn't deserve MVP. I really didn't play with anyone close to enough pressure. Is that you typing?
Oh, that's not me.
Okay,
No, that was me for a split second.
okay,
Mechanical keyboards OP.
nice. Um, so you won for your game one performance on Kog'Maw and your Diana performance here in game two. Congratulations on your 2-0 victory against Chase Squad. How does it feel?
Feels pretty good. I mean, coming back, we had a bye week, and then we also had a bit of time in between matches. We played our games a little bit later on, and I was a little bit worried coming back into this week that we didn't play enough together that it might not work out. But I know that like just in general, we're very like strong together, we have great, really great synergy, and like most of the time our lanes are just very dominant. And I honestly didn't expect it to be this like large of a deficit against the enemy team, you know. But overall, GG, and I thought we played very well. So
Agreed. Nolan, do you have any questions for our Victor?
Uh, so what was your thought process when you saw that it was Lucian mid?
um, honestly, I actually thought it was we thought it was Lucian AD carry because we knew that that Sal plays like Lucian a lot, and uh, when I saw that it was mid, I knew because I play that, so maybe they were thinking take it away from me or something. I don't know, but the matchup I've never played before, Diana and Solution, so I had no idea how it was gonna go. I assumed that pre-6, obviously, I was gonna lose, um, but I knew once I got 6, I could potentially go in for a kill, even though he had exhaust. So I just waited for jungle pressure, and it resulted in the kill, and then I could snowball there, snowball off of that. So I
See,
just waited for jungle.
Chris, sorry to interrupt. Do you mind turning up your mic a bit? I've just turned you up on my side. Chat can't hear you.
Yeah, how's this?
That's great.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat what I said? Or
Yeah, just you can kind of summarize the beginning part and then take off from there.
okay. Basically, yeah, I didn't expect the Lucian mid. But when I saw it, I figured the matchup. I like had never played it before, so I figured I'd lose early before 6, and then that I'd win afterwards. So I waited until 6 and waited for a jungle gank because he had exhaust, so I knew I couldn't solo kill him. And after that, I just took that lead and snowballed it, and
Hmm.
that was pretty much like just the plan, the game plan.
All right, and then I feel like you're you're kind of the epitome of like what I see in PMA LCS, where most mid laners, instead of going with what they feel like is strongest in the meta, will go with what they feel like is strongest for them. Uh,
Yeah.
so in regards to that first matchup where it was the Kog'Maw versus the Azir, how did you feel like laning was going to go? What was your strategy? Because both of y'all had pretty good late scaling team comps, but I felt like if the game would have stayed even or relatively even, going past the 35-minute mark, or 25 if it would have just been even to that point, that they would have outscaled you. So was there any kind of pressure that y'all were wanting to apply, or just what were the comms like for that first game?
Towards the beginning, the comms were our like usual comms. We would just try to talk about objectives, and then our jungler Pat, he spoke about where he was on the map. Always let us know what he was doing, so that way we could play around that. And then we waited until like eventually we got a pretty decent lead. And once we get leads, we kind of just know what to do, and we don't really. At that point in the game, I don't know if there was really much of a thought in our mind that there was ever going to be a point where they could scale up to us. Um, but I feel like Kog'Maw scales way harder than the Azir, and
Mm-hmm.
like because I know Azir's just really weak right, and Kog'Maw I feel is very strong, but like not many people play him because he's very hard to put into matchups. Like nowadays, the assassins and mages just do better than him.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like overall, like we had a pretty even matchup in terms of scaling, and since we were already ahead from the early, like it just didn't matter. We were just gonna win.
Yep. Overall, really good snowballing from game one, and then game two was just quite honestly just a stomp. We didn't expect that coming out. We knew that either team had to get an early game lead because y'all had skirmishing comps, more so than team fight comps. Although you had the better team fight comp just because of the tanks that you had selected, and also you had a slight range advantage in the bottom lane. So Vayne would have to get really close to these tanks into CC range to do anything.
Yeah.
Um, I mentioned in the broadcast at the end that I'm not really a big huge fan of Vayne. I know you're not necessarily an AD carry main, but when you saw the Vayne pick come out because you thought it was Lucian AD carry, what was going through your mind on the side of Team Solo Feed?
Well, we didn't really like I don't know. It was more Rich, kind of like, oh, he was like, okay, like I play well into Vaynes, and like the Vayne lane is for Xayah is very good, so he was pretty confident that they were gonna do very well bot lane. And the Lucian mid, um, like once we saw that it was swapped around, we figured, okay, they're gonna have two AD carries, which means that they're basically just gonna try to peel all game, which means that Rich is gonna be able to sit in the back line and do whatever he wants. And then it ended up working out that way. And I also got large enough that I could pretty much just tower dive and not care. But
Yeah, which
uh,
you did multiple
yeah,
times, except for that. Outside of your death, top lane going a little bit too aggressive underneath the top tier one tower, and the
yeah,
uh, death from by Bounty in the jungle, it was very close to having a perfect game. So again,
yeah.
congratulations on the 2-0. Is there anything you want to say to the fans or the stream right now?
Just a thank you to everyone watching. I know there's two games going on, or there was at one point. So thanks for everyone who like kept up with both streams and all that, making sure everyone gets seen. Uh, and GG to J Squad, even though I don't know, at the end they were saying that it was kind of like not too fun to play against that kind of team comp, but GG
Yeah,
to them anyways. They played well early on in the game, and there's not much you can do at the end, so it's not like their fault or anything.
yeah,
Um, can't wait for playoffs.
yeah.
So see you
I
guys.
believe I've been notified by Rich that Parp, uh, the Panda squad, I forget it, and your team, Team Solo Feed, have clinched the two playoff buys, so you are respectively Immortals and Team Solo Mid,
Mm-hmm.
for all intents and purposes. So congratulations on your playoff bye, as I believe that now Chase Squad is almost mathematically out of playoffs. With the 0-2, I think they had the 2-0 to try to secure a chance in playoffs, but uh, congratulations. GG, well played to everybody on the side of Team Solo Feed. So
Yeah.
that's gonna wrap it up for us here on PMA LCS 2. Thank you for everyone to watching and tuning in. I'm Sean Minbung Shannon, and
You cut out there.
oh, I'm Sean Minbung Shannon,
I'm Nolan Jingo and Shane McCoy.
and thanks for tuning in. We'll be back later this week with some more games.